it's right. This is going to provide tax cuts for the wealthy, and it's going to slash services to the poor, including the rural poor. Republicans can try to spin that away. They can try to run away from it. It's simply there. We heard from Speaker Johnson as well, claiming it's not going to drive up the deficit. And of course it is. We can do the math. As for that video, what the hell? Like, I mean, that was some of the strangest politics I've ever seen.
It's really weird.
And what it is it's an evolution of how Trumpified the Republican Party has been in terms of his guiding ethos. Never apologize. You always just go forward. You keep pushing. You never back down. And she tried to do it with these jokes in the cemetery that just landed so poorly. It was so tone deaf. She got legitimate anger in that town hall. She didn't know how to handle it then. She said something that she knew, and her team surely knew, was going to be used in a campaign ad against her. A made-for-TV moment. We're all going to die. And instead of trying to walk it back, she pushes forward. And let's remember, I think the other important context here is Senator Ernst in particular was the one who was the victim of a pressure campaign from MAGA allies over the confirmation battle for Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth. She was seen as sort of the swing vote that might submarine his bid to run the Pentagon. She was threatened with a primary from the right. She didn't want to face that. She changed her vote. She came around. She voted for Hegseth. But it's very clear that she's still dealing with that and is gun-shy of trying to do anything to cross what she believes the president wants because she's afraid she might be going to battle internally to hang on to her seat.
And by the way, the question is not whether we're all going to die or not. The question is whether you're going to give tax cuts to billionaires and take food out of the mouths of the poorest Americans and also take hospital services away from the poorest in your own state, which is what Joni Ernst is doing with this vote. And then she's trying to explain it away by talking about tooth fairies in a cemetery. I'm sorry.
Making fun of her
I'm sorry.
Constituents.
I'm not David Ignatius. I'm not wishing for the good old days, but, 30 years ago, when I was in Congress 20 years ago, I wouldn't call those the good old days. We had really tough fights. But it's unimaginable that a United States senator on either side would behave in this way. I just can't even imagine it. I mean, they weren't so scared of presidents that they would mock their own constituents, especially, again, you look at Iowa, and I'm not asking you to get into the politics of this, but the rural health care that's going to be savaged by this bill. But I'm just talking about how senators comport themselves and trying to make jokes about people suffering.
So Joni Ernst was tone deaf, and it's rare to have such an outrageous comment, even with our legislature. But Joe and Mika, I think this is a preview of what's ahead. This tax spending bill, when you pare everything away, is about giving more to the rich and about cutting programs for the poor, as was said earlier. And Republicans are going to have to defend that all over the country. We've seen in recent weeks that when they go home to their districts, they're met with often angry groups of constituents who say, what the heck is going on in Washington? This isn't what we voted for. We didn't vote to see programs slashed. We didn't vote to see benefits for Elon Musk and his friends. So I think, this is a little snapshot that tells you what we're going to see more and more of as we move, through this year, through this bill, into next year's midterm campaigns. This isn't going away.
Yeah, and Mike, again, just dating myself and proving how old I am. I remember Trent Lott and Tom Daschle would beat the hell out of each other on Meet the Press. Be there with Tim. They'd go, they would savage each other. And then afterwards, they'd pick up the phone, they'd call, they'd talk to each other. Never do outrageous things like this. I mean, it didn't happen. There was a way to disagree on spending bills. There was a way to disagree on other things. And again, figure out how to do what was best for the country. We saw it with Bill Clinton and a Congress that he had little use for. We balanced the budget 4 years in a row. We saw it with Tip O'Neill and Ronald Reagan, who would work together and talk to each other. time and time again throughout the 1980s, even though they disagreed greatly with each other. But here, going to a cemetery to mock your constituents and talk about the tooth fairy, again, is so beyond the pale. I'll tell you, if you'd done that 20, 25 years ago, I don't know that senators would be talking to you in the cloakroom like on Monday morning. They'd be turning their back, embarrassed of you, embarrassed to be associated with you. This is just, talk about just childish behavior for a United States senator who is mocking her constituents who are worried about their health care, their children's health care, and their grandparents or parents' health care.
She did it because she's afraid of one person, Joe, Donald Trump. That's why she did it. That's her poor judgment in doing it. Clearly, no one could talk her out of doing it because she did it. Because of her fear of losing her Senate seat and her fear of the President of the United States. You used a phrase a couple of minutes ago that used to be used a lot, I think, 10, 15, 20 years ago in both the House and the Senate. And the phrase is, what's best for the country? I don't know that that phrase is used a lot these days in Washington, D.C., what's best for the country. From the beginning, this bill that we're talking about right now, the big, beautiful bill, an absurd title for stripping poor people of the meager things that they might have now, stripping more of the rights and the benefits that people need to survive, stripping people of the right to have Medicaid fund their whatever they're looking for when they find a Medicaid office that's open or a program that they can be accepted into, stripping all of that from the least among us in order to reward those with the most among us. It is absurd, it's obscene, and it's a terrible indictment of the United States of America Congress, the way the politicians act every single day, seemingly, not all of them, but most of them. The big, beautiful bill. Please, God, help us.
And while doing all of that, adding $20 trillion to a $37 trillion national debt. It's unsustainable. It's unsustainable. I've been talking about this for 20 years when Democrats are in office, when Republicans. This is unsustainable. And all the lying in the world doesn't make that go away. All of the lying in the world right now, from Mike Johnson and other Republicans saying it doesn't add to that, all the lying in the world will not save all Americans when a day of reckoning comes on this debt. And it is coming if this bill passes. It is coming.